Today we are going to be talking about the history of the telephone. Before we dive in to looking at the history of the telephone, I want you to think about today's driving question. What if nothing ever changed? What if nothing ever changed in the world around you? What if your life never changed? How would your life today look different? How do you think the world around you would look different? This is something I want you to think about as you learn about the history of the telephone and how it affected people in Alabama and in the world around it. There has been a lot of debate over who truly invented the telephone. Although credit is given to Alexander Graham Bell for the invention of the telephone, many would say Greek scientist Antonio Meucci was the true inventor. On December 28, 1871, he took something out called a caveat, which showed that he intended to patent his new invention, the telephone. However, Antonio did not renew his caveat for the idea, and Alexander Graham Bell was able to file the patent. The picture shown before you is to illustrate what it looked like when Alexander Graham Bell decided to finally file the patent for the telephone. On March 10, 1876, Alexander Graham Bell made the first phone call on his invention, the telephone. The phone call was to his assistant, Thomas Watson, and his famous words that were spoken were, "Mr. Watson, come here. I want to see you." In 1878, Alexander Graham Bell showed his invention of the telephone to Queen Victoria in the United Kingdom. She loved the telephone so much that she ordered two. Ring, ring. In 1891, a phone call between London and Paris marked the birth of the first overseas phone call. Today, where we just dial a phone number and it takes us directly where we want to go, back in the 1900s, you had to call somebody called the operator. They would then look up the number and take you exactly to whom you wanted to talk to. But in 1912, that all changed when the first automatic exchange opened and people no longer had to call the operator. Could you imagine being an operator and dealing with all those wires? In 1937, the first emergency hotline was created in London. But instead of calling the traditional 911 like we know today, they called 999. The telephone changed lives forever. One way that the invention of the telephone has been able to affect the lives of both people in Alabama and around the world is that in the case of an emergency, people were able to contact police, hospitals, and even each other. Now today, with the technology that we have and the mobile devices that we use, we are able to press a button and contact each other as well as emergency personnel. Another wonderful way that the telephone has affected the people using it is that they're able to communicate with family, friends, businesses, and even strangers. We are able to call the local businesses and see if they're open. We are able to call our family and friends to see if they're home. The invention of the telephone had made everything more convenient. Fast forward to the 1980s, and it's time to go mobile.
State-of-the-art custom telephone.
Here in front of you is the Motorola Dynatac 8000X, the first mobile phone. Wow, how things have changed. You are now looking at the modern-day mobile phone, the iPhone. And with the invention of the iPhone and other modern technology, we have access to so many things right at our fingertips. We're able to look at GPSs that can take us anywhere we need to go. We have access to the internet wherever we are. We're able to text and phone call our friends and family. 91% of Americans have a mobile phone. Isn't it amazing how much the telephone has changed and how important it is to our lives? I can't wait for you to discover more and create your Adobe Spark video on the history of the telephone.